Okay, let's go ahead and get started on this portion of the uh, Terraria study session, building a mod, so on and so forth. So, yesterday we had gotten into the um, you know, basic UI element guide, and we got down to the very bottom where they were kind of talking about the modify interface, layers and how they were basically saying, um, where this particular individual, says that it's required, um, but didn't really know, um, you know, what it does. So, um, so, um, Okay, so I was talking about how the game has multiple layers to it, yesterday, right? Um, you know, like I was trying to show you all the different layers that I personally could see. Like I don't really know if what I was telling is the truth kind of thing. Like I don't know like every single layer that is in Terraria. I'm coming at it from the outside looking in kind of a thing. So I don't know if my description of it is accurate. Okay, so kind of keep it with a grain of salt here, but when I was looking at when I was looking at the game, and let me make sure. Yeah, we have both of those mods enabled right at this moment in time. Um, my tutorial mod that I'm just kind of playing around with, and the boss mod. And I'm just kind of going into my into this particular area. I was talking about how you have the background, being one layer. You have the moon and sun being another layer because they kind of move separately from the mountain and everything else. Um, you have the um, you have the background, or the wall background and stuff like that. That is another layer. Then you have like the layer that is with the trees and the walls and the doors and all that kind of jazz. The furniture, the chests, and so on and so forth. Okay, because they all have kind of a little bit of a collision, right? Then you have um, you know, then you have the NPCs and the rabbits and stuff like that, because as you can see the player is in front of them. Same with the rabbit here. Okay. Then we have um basically like you know there's the leaves, right, which they're right in front of the player in this particular case, right? So right there, that's in its own separate layer themselves, right? So, um, I think the owl is um, same kind of layer as the as the bunny rabbit and stuff like that, because the mobs can actually interact with not only the player but the NPCs, as well as like the bunny rabbits and stuff like that, and the owls. So, um, So they kind of interact with each other, but they are on, separate layers from each other, right? And then, you have, um, you have like in front of that, you have the text that's on another layer, in front of the player. The player has their own separate layer, obviously, as you can see, that I'm kind of walking in front of a lot of the, other previous layers, right? So, um, then you have, like text in front of that. Now, I don't know if the text is the same as the leaves. I don't really know, whether or not there's going to be any kind of, um, you know, uh, what else would, you know, will the text kind of go in front of the, um, like the sparkle effects or something like that? Will it go kind of in front of the leaves? I don't really know. Um, but you have that text that's kind of in front of everything, right? And then you have additional layers after that. That is also, the player's inventory. You know, um, the hearts, the mana, the equipment. You know, any like additional interfaces and whatnot. Even talking with you know, the text here is in front of a lot. Um, the and of course, when you look at what you can do, just with the crafting, this is in its own separate layer. And then even after all that, there's once again another layer with the text, in front of that. Now, um, unfortunately, okay, so so the text here, like I'm hovering over the banker right at this moment in time, right? The text is still like front and center. Like it's pretty much, or like the tooltips and the character names and stuff like that. That appears to be like the layer that you know is like front and center. It will be at the most visual location ever. Okay. And then, of course, you have the mouse, the mouse cursor that has, basically the closest layer to your camera as possible, right? Because it hovers over everything. Okay. It goes in front of the text. It goes in front of all of these boxes here. Now, obviously, we can't really see whether or not it goes in front of the tooltips because it kind of stems from like, the mouse is kind of won't ever really go over the tooltip, you know. Like I won't really see the possibility of seeing like the mouse being able to go over the tooltip right at this moment in time, or at least, they kind of built it so it will never really have that kind of um, overload kind of thing, We don't necessarily need to worry about that. Um, so that's basically the whole, uh, different interface layers to the game, right? So, so when we go back to this particular set of instructions here, let's go ahead and kind of read through this a bit, okay? So our purpose for this particular function is to, um, is to grab the list of layers that we have in game. Okay, the game interface layers, we have a list of them, and here's all of our different layers that we have, right? And our purpose in this particular instance is to modify, you know, either, you know, it's to modify one of them or multiple of them. I don't, who knows? You know, don't know what their intention is at this particular moment in time, um, but the idea is to, for it to, potentially call this modify interface layers, which again, there is probably multiple calls throughout like all like mods and just normal gameplay that will always have a modify interface layers, just for the tooltips alone. You get what I'm saying? Um, so you'll probably see this often. They're right in that, um, that the code is required because you're gonna be modifying said layers no matter what. With you know, I mean, just swinging the sword, is a way to kind of um, have something visual happening on an interface layer. Okay, so um, so they're saying essentially this is where the drawing actually occurs after we fed the user interface everything it needed. If you do not use this code, your entire UI will disappear. Pretty much. Um, it won't be added into the interface layer at all, you know. So, um, so maybe it might show up for like maybe a split second, but it won't necessarily stay there. So, um, so first thing that they do is they get a number called the mouse text index. So they look in the layers, the game interface layers. They're looking for an index in there, um, where they're searching for, they're trying to find the layer that's basically equal to a layer name that has the vanilla mouse text. So it basically looks in the um, there is a layer already built, already established. That's called the vanilla mouse text layer. Okay. Um, and most likely, just putting that out there. Let's go back to the game. We'll go back into our test mod. So you have the mouse here, right? And I mean, this isn't technically the vanilla game per se, um, but I mean, it still uses elements of the vanilla game, right? We're not building a brand new game or anything like that. We're pulling from the base game, the vanilla game, right? Well, um, the mouse text, I'm gonna assume. I got my voice broke. I'm sorry. Okay, man. I'm gonna assume like when you hover over someone with your mouse, you see the text there, the Brent 250/250 there. Well, I'm making that assumption that that is that particular layer. Okay. No, remember how I was telling you about how like everything is, pretty much at a um, whenever you hover over anything, the mouse, you know, hovering over anybody, brings up a tooltip and you have a text there for it, right? And that's pretty much the layer that is the foremost of everything on the screen, right? So, um, now here's the thing that I will kind of um, here's the thing that I will say, okay? You might not need your user interface to be on that text layer, okay? You might need it to be somewhat behind the text layer. Like for example, see this book right here? It's not on that text layer because it's behind the tooltip, if you can see. Like you can't see the book from behind the tooltip, right? Trying to get to a spot where notice how the book is still behind that tooltip. So putting it on the mouse text layer won't always be something that you want to have happen. You may need to have it on different layers. Now, again, I don't know what all available layers there are, or what's available, what's in the vanilla. It might be something that I might need to look up myself because, again, the code itself doesn't their example code doesn't necessarily tell us too much about that, right? So, but the vanilla mouse text is basically that tin pickaxe, 5 melee damage. That's pretty much out, from what I know, from what I can tell, it is the mouse text vanilla layer. So, so just kind of giving you guys a heads up on that, right? So, um, so let's go back to the code here. What I wrote that was funny, or Fortune meets Marcus, and they're both chasing some big guy and just ran to each other. Like it was a cartoon. Okay. Not Are you writing up two different stories there, my friend? I'm assuming so because you're kind of talking about like multiple different characters and it feels like two different stories. But hey, nothing wrong with that. If you get like um you know um I don't really see a problem with a person like writing multiple stories up, especially if they like get to a spot where it's like damn, I got writer's block for one particular story. Okay, well, I'll just switch over to this other story. I'll start working on that, figuring out like things that I want to have, that I want to do on that particular story. And then maybe, just maybe, while I'm like running up that, my writer's block for the other story kind of clears and I go, oh wait, I can maybe do something like this. And then you can go back to it. So, but the problem with that though is the fact that, you're working on two different stories at the same time and obviously if you're trying to do like something for like say a publisher, they're going to be like, hey, you need to get this book done today and you're like, but but I'm working on multiple books or something like that, right? So yeah, there could be some problems, but yeah. Uh I can Crunchyroll did their um price change. They became a subscription-based service, and any anime that I would have liked to have continued watching Crunchyroll kind of blocked me off from that. So I was only able to watch like the first like 3 episodes before Crunchyroll basically said, "Okay, well, you're done. You can't watch anymore. We're gonna turn off your, we're gonna put up a paywall and you can't watch anymore." And so far I've not found another free anime subscription service. So, so no, I haven't watched all of Spy and Family. So, and I'd rather not watch it on any kind of pirate sites. So, so my anime watching has dropped severely since Crunchyroll went full subscription service. So, kind of sucks, but I mean, I don't have any other choices at this time. So, okay. So they basically look for the layer with this particular name, which should be there. Again, I don't know what all layers are available in the vanilla and stuff like that. I don't even know if this is the correct name for it. So, like any misspelling here could potentially ruin the um, ruin what layer you pull from. So make sure that, what layer you want is spelled absolutely correctly. Otherwise, you won't be able to find the index that it's associated with and add that into what's called the mouse text index on this. Why they call it the mouse text index, I don't really know. Um, I mean, I guess they're just kind of making sure that, hey, we have the mouse text here and then we have the mouse text there, whatever. But, technically you could probably name this whatever you want, right? You could probably name it like layer index and it still would probably work for you, right? Um, so, but if you if it doesn't find anything, you know, based off of this if statement here, it basically says if it doesn't find anything, it will return a -1, meaning that it did not find any value, um, any index within this list that matched up with anything there, right? So most likely you might have misspelled this, or there was never a layer to begin with. Who knows, right? So so this right here, will not happen unless you indeed find that layer, right? So so now you have this spot, or now you have this particular set of code, which um, everything that is happening inside um, here is part of the insert. And then you have the legacy game interface layer here. That's taking all of that. Or no, that's not right. Oh, no, it's all the way down there. Okay. So that's, legacy game interface layer is taking all that. So, um, so what it's doing right at this moment in time is that it's taking what it wants to do is it wants to insert into the layer, at this particular index that you found, okay? And you're, adding a new, you know, legacy game interface layer um, into it. Um, I'm assuming on the same layer as the mouse index. Um, you're basically adding this into this particular layer. You're inserting into it. You're adding a description of, you know, what you're doing, you know. Um, like maybe I believe this is referring to the name. So there's that. You're delegating a portion to create the menu bar. You're drawing that particular button. Um, and you return true. I don't know why they have the return true there within the delegate. That doesn't make much sense there. Not sure what's going on there. Um, Most likely has to do with this delegate section, but again, I haven't seen that before, so I'm not quite sure uh, what the nature between these two are right at this point. This feels very much C sharp style code that I'm not familiar with. So I can't really tell you too much about this right at this moment in time. So I don't know what the return true is needed for this delegate section. And then we have the interface scale type .ui, which is, you know, um, we've kind of seen that before, right? Or maybe not. Hmm. Not quite sure what this is all about either, or what this is kind of meant to be like. Maybe it's meant to um, basically take the image and make sure that it's scaled based off the size of the screen. Like you can like zoom in and zoom out on your screen, and therefore it needs to adjust the image accordingly. Maybe potentially. Um, it's the only thing that I can think of along those lines. Okay. And then it basically just takes all that and then inserts it into that particular layer. So, um, so the result is you have this, play button in front of your character. At this point, your screen should have a button just like this. Notice it's not a menu bar yet. You simply add and arrange more UI elements to it in the future. So, okay, so it might not be the most exciting thing in the world, but you should now be able to iterate off of this idea and make whatever elements you like. Quickly understand what you can do with the UI elements, create a new class, inherit from it, and do not add anything yet. Right click on class brackets quickly, and click quick actions, and then auto generate overrides. That will allow you to figure out what actions you can take. Notice that draw showed up. Since it looks like draw is drawing a sprite batch, you should right click on sprite batch and peek its definitions and get more ideas. If you look closely, you'll see that we could have called draw in our UI element code many different ways. Medium level example. Finally, you'll be able to, if you'd like more hand holding, then check out example mods, example coin UI, and study how they implemented some UI elements here. So, um, I'm assuming this is something that we will kind of see, you know, in the future anyway. So, keep in mind that the three classes we discussed above, and you should be able to figure it out. You'll notice they use other classes in place of UI element that aid in the implementation of certain UI pieces, UI panel, and UI image button. Thanks. Okay. So, um, so we were kind of working on this, before to try to get it, you know, up and running. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that on the code. Just bear in mind, okay, that I'm gonna kind of turn off this particular code here. So, but I'll still be kind of seeing it. I'll move it off to the side so that, you know, but I'm gonna be kind of like turning on the code here and kind of continuing with what I saw, you know, on that page. And I want to build that plus sign or that plus symbol thing in front of the character. Um, Now, obviously, I'll most likely need to kind of disable it afterwards. I'll probably need to comment it out um, once I do get it up and running, because right now it's not doing anything like that. That button isn't gonna be like, you know, oh hey, you're gonna be getting, you know, some like special equipment or something like that from it, right? So it's not really very useful at this time. Like it's not opening up any kind of um it's not going to open up any like, you know, special menu or anything along those lines. We're not using it for the sword in any fashion or another. It's just kind of there as a button. Whether or not it's actually clickable or not is questionable. Um, it might be something that we may need to kind of look at a little bit more later. Um, but um, but this is just kind of meant to, you know, you know, basic UI element is just basically showing us how to go about doing that. So let's see. Let's see. How do you think you forge a rec to find 13-year-old kid in place that not safe for kids because this is where crime bosses meet up? I wouldn't know. I mean, like I said, I don't know Yoi Forger well enough to really fully understand her overall character, so I can't really answer that, my friend. So, um, you know, I mean, I'll have to leave that to yourself. I I can't give one way or another on it. I mean, most that I know about um, Yor is the fact that, you know, she's an assassin. She's really skilled at it, but she still has like um she still has that idea of wanting to have like a home life as well. So hence the reason why she pretty much was accepting of the family and marriage or fake marriage, you know. So off the bat, but it was kind of based off of necessity, to my knowledge, for if I remember correctly. But again, after that, I don't know. So, can't really tell you about that. So, writing a new Star Wars story, though, does take place during Kylo Ren's story. Don't follow those episodes 7, 8, or 9, but I do like some of the characters in it. Yeah, 7, 8, or 9 are absolute trash. I mean, there was like maybe one part in 7 that I enjoyed. Just one part. Everything else was just absolutely crap. I was like, what the fuck are they doing? Out of 7, 8, and 9, 7 was probably the best. Wasn't really saying, and that's not really saying much. Bear in mind. Uh, you know, so yeah, that's 7, 8, and 9 are just absolutely trash. In my opinion, they should just go ahead and retcon it out. Just delete it from the delete it from ever existing because that story was just terrible. Um, which is just absolutely sad because it was the last project that Carrie Fisher was on, and it's like, oh man, just kind of wish that it was just a better project. So now, don't get me wrong, I'll, you know, I'm not hating upon the actors or anything along those lines. The actors did a fine enough job for what they were given. Okay, I'm not gonna really hate on any of the actors for the work that they're given. Okay, you know it's a job that they're given, and they will do whatever they can to make it as um that they will try to act out the movie the best that they can to make it you know usable or enjoyable for the audience and stuff like that, or at least some of them do. Um, but so I don't blame the actors, um, for the material that they were given, right? Um, I kind of blame more the overall storyline, which kind of falls on the writers, unfortunately, and the overall direction of the movies. Like they didn't have an idea um for the trilogy. They never they never made a start and a finish, and then figure out where um the most um they didn't really show like the most tense situations or anything like that. They didn't have anything like written down for it very well. Okay. Um, like for example, okay, you know, I will commend George Lucas for one, two, and three just because he did know what he kind of wanted to do for one, two, and three, like how it arced from what he wanted to first show all the way to the very end. Okay, the fall of Anakin. Okay. He wanted to show that in 1, 2, and 3. He wanted to show Anakin's rise and fall. Um, to basically set the stage for 4, 5, and 6. Okay. For 7, 8, and 9, they didn't do that. They didn't have any clear ideas to what they wanted to do. Okay. Um, that's why you had Ryan Johnson come in and fuck everything up in 8. And I absolutely hated 8. Hated 8 with a passion. Okay. You want to know why? Because Ryan Johnson has no fucking clue as to who Luke Skywalker is. No fucking clue. He didn't know who Luke Skywalker was. So Ryan Johnson can go elsewhere. He didn't know who the fuck Luke Skywalker was, so he can just go walk off somewhere. He can do his own stupid projects elsewhere. He can just, he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. Um, so, so I saw 8 as an absolute travesty to the entire Star Wars franchise, and uh, for anybody that says, but it was a good movie, bullshit. If you say that it's a good movie, then you have no fucking idea what Star Wars is all about. So 8 is one of the worst ones by far. You know, by far. And Mark Hamill knew it. Mark Hamill knew it. You know, he argued with the director, and he even mentioned the fact that this wasn't Luke, but what did he say? It was more like Jake Skywalker or something like that, and he was right. It was just fucking terrible. Ugh. And then of course they tried to salvage whatever they could with 9, and oh jeez. I mean, I will try to commend Ryan Johnson, or not Ryan Johnson. Who, God damn it, I'm forgetting their names because I just want to kind of blank out those movies anyway. Star Wars directors. J.J. Abrams. Okay. J.J. Abrams tried to salvage what he could from the disaster that was 8. Um, so don't get me wrong, 9 was still fucking terrible. But unfortunately, Ryan Johnson didn't do crap to set the stage for J.J. Abrams to finish off the trilogy. You know, oh god, he left him with nothing. No major villain. You know, like in Empire Strikes Back, you're still kind of given the hint of a major boss. Okay, you have the Emperor, right? The major last villain. You're kind of you were you know the true villain behind the scenes. Is the Emperor in 8 in Empire Strikes Back in 5, right? Granted, Darth Vader was, the main antagonist for the most part, right? But the main villain was the Emperor in basically 4, 5, and 6, right? And I mean, he was the main villain in 1, 2, and 3 a bit as well, but still, again, more behind the scenes, right? Well, J.J. Abrams set up, what was that one guy, the um, let's see. Movie 7. Villains. What was that one? Supreme Leader Snoke. You know. Hey, Snoke was introduced in 7. I'm like going, oh, okay. Interesting. Um, I was like going, okay, Snoke, new villain. No worries on that. I was like, no problem. I was okay with, you know, Snoke being a new villain that's out there who's also kind of, you know, dark side, you know, had dark side powers and so on and so forth. Whether or not he was a true Sith or not, was questionable. Whether or not he was trained by Palpatine was unknown. All these things, right? You know, he was a unknown factor, and that was perfect for 7. Just someone that you know was very dangerous because he basically influenced Ben Solo to become evil, right? So it's like, okay, understandable about that, right? Um, I was okay with that. And then he gets killed off in 8. It's like, okay, who's gonna be the main villain then? You don't have anybody else. I mean, um you have Kylo Ren, but you showed him getting his ass kicked um um by the Mary Jane. What's her name? Um, fuck. Um, fuck. I don't know. They're just. It's just all. I don't want to think about those movies ever because it's just crap. They were just absolutely terrible. So, um, Ray, you know, it's like Kylo got his ass handed to him by Ray, who it's like, okay, sure. Miss Mary Sue herself in the flesh. Um, so, um, so I mean, you already showed that, the main antagonist, could be bested by the main hero and the heroine in 7. Okay, and then you kill off the big bad in 8. Okay, what does that leave you? You showed the bad guy, the main bad guy loses in 7. You show the main, the big head honcho villain dying in 8. What does that, what does that leave you? J.J. Abrams pretty much had nothing on his hands as to who could be a decent villain at that point. So, so in some ways, I'm not totally surprised that he brought back Palpatine because they were kind of hinting at it anyway, or there was a lot of theories about who Rey was and stuff like that. But it's like, oh my god, like I said, that whole thing was just a shit show. It was bad writing. So, you know, I'll be completely happy if they could just say 7, 8, and 9 are just gone. Just get rid of them. You know. So, I mean, they should have gone back to the legacy books and searched for ideas from those because that would have been a better choice in my opinion than the crap that they gave us for 7, 8, and 9. So, all right. Let's see. Sorry, tangent. Okay. Let's see. Now we took care of the play button and uninitialize. They're talking about um, then they talk about the auto load side is equal to mod side dot client. So I don't know again what um, what this is kind of referencing a little bit. But it is in a separate class, so we have auto load side equals to mod side dot client. Oh wait, we need the public class menu bar system and mod system. Okay. Next we declare a variable of UI state we made above which holds our single button. So I'm assuming that's inside the class because they don't actually show us this per se. Next we declare a variable of the user interface that will use the menu bar later. We did not need to create this class or inherit from it. Okay, so we have a private user interface underscore menu bar. There's that. And then we have, let's see, a couple of public public functions. And I'm assuming it's inside this bar system because, I mean, it's, you have the, you have references to the, menu bars, that's within the class, so let's see, we have menu bar equal to new menu bar dot activate. Then you have menu bar equals to new user interface. And then menu bar dot set state. And then we add the menu bar in there. So we got that load going. Then we have the update UI. So override void update UI game time. Yep, that's right. And then we have the menu bar. Not quite sure why they have a question mark here and then the period and then update. And then the game time. Not sure about this. Not sure why they have that there. That's something that I'm not completely familiar with, so I'm assuming that this is something that is C# related. Um, um, Friends rewrites 7, 8, and 9. All the changes we made was Luke Skywalker, our daughter with Mara Jane, and Han Solo survived, and Luke Skywalker had a pretty big role. Yeah, I mean, Luke Skywalker should have had a bigger role than what he was given. Skywalker has some Anakin Skywalker. Luke Skywalker has the Skywalker lightsaber, not Rey. She's master with a blaster. Yeah, I don't. Rey was just too overpowered too quickly. Our Skywalker, basically jack of all trades, master of none, her flaws, like Anakin Skywalker, she given to dark side a lot because and scary like Darth Vader. I mean, don't get me wrong, okay? I didn't really, you know, um, I wouldn't have minded Rey. Um, I wouldn't have minded Rey, okay, as much if they kind of kept her being um a little bit more realistic, you know. In 7, her being able to instantaneously pull the lightsaber away from Kylo Ren, her being able to mind control or, influence stormtroopers without ever having any formal Jedi power or, Jedi training prior is, those are the points that was like going, this is stupid, you're being stupid about it, right? Would have loved to have seen Finn be a Jedi. Would have loved to have seen that, you know. Him pulling up that lightsaber and trying to use it against Kylo, great. Would have loved to have seen more of that. Okay. Now he got his ass handed to him because let's face it, Kylo is a better lightsaber duelist. So, you know, Kylo versus Finn, yeah, makes sense. Experience typically wins out against non-experienced people. Typically, even though they threw that out the window as soon as Rey was able to pull the lightsaber from the ground. Um, but but would have loved to have seen that. They totally screwed over Finn. And again, I blame Ryan Johnson on that one. So, um, would have loved to have seen Finn go from Stormtrooper to basically a Jedi Padawan to full-flown Jedi in the last movie. Would have loved to have seen that. Okay? I would have loved to have seen Finn and Rey training together under Luke Skywalker to become full-on Jedis with the light side. Would have loved to have seen that. That would have been 10 times a better 8 than what we got from Ryan Johnson. Okay? Easily. So, but no. They 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 made Luke Skywalker into someone that or they made Luke Skywalker because that wasn't Luke Skywalker into someone that would willingly attack a family member, okay, or even have the inclination of wanting to attack a family member, you know. So it's like the man faced down Darth Vader himself, and you think that he'd be like looking at his nephew and going, "Oh my God, the nephew's showing signs of being similar to Darth Vader. What shall I do? I better kill him." What? It's like, uh, That's why I say Ryan Johnson had no idea what the fuck he was talking about when it came to Star Wars. So, um, I wouldn't have minded Luke Skywalker having a family. Wouldn't have minded him having, a wife, children, and so on and so forth. That was like, previously established in legends and stuff like that. Would have loved to have seen it. Would have loved to have seen a Mara Jade. You know, that was talked about in legends, and how he found himself a wife and had children, and taught his children how to be Jedi, along with the children of Han Solo and Leia, or Leia Organa, right? Um, but they gave us that crap. So, of 7, 8, and 9. So, okay. So again, I don't know what this is all about. So, yeah. Um, let's go ahead and try to finish off the rest of this here, and then um, we'll test it and see what happens. So override void modify interface layers. Okay. Okay, and it automatically brought in the layers there. Awesome. But we don't necessarily need to worry about this part here. Matter of fact, this is never really referenced ever again, so we don't really need it. So, okay. So we got int mouse text index, do layers dot find index, layers layer. We're doing layer dot name dot equals, and then we have the vanilla. I have to be very careful here because one wrong mistype could screw up which layer it pulls from. Okay, nothing else there, so we're good. Then we do an if statement with the mouse index. We're checking to make sure that it's not equal to -1. Move that down here. Okay, we have layers. Insert. Now it is a little concerning a bit that we have not only layers, but we have layer here. But apparently this is a parameter within the, game interface layers anyway, so that's fine. Okay, so we have mouse text index, and then we have new legacy game interface layer. There we go. And then hold on. I don't want to do anything just yet. We're just going to go ahead and kind of I want to kind of okay. This is there. I want to kind of give myself a little bit of a Um, I want to be able to kind of show, the different, um, the different parts of this right at this moment in time. So, okay. Um, so we have your mod, description. We're doing delegate. Again, don't really know why we're putting that in there. Not sure what that's all about, but we got menu bar, we got draw, we got main, sprite batch, and new, game time. There we go. Close that one off. And then we have return true to finish off this part. And we put a comment there to continue on with the insertion here. And then we have interface, scale type, dot, by. And let's see, let me make sure that I'm good with this. Yeah, I think we're good here. So we just need a colon there. And I think that is it. We don't need to worry about anything else. So we're going to go ahead and save this. And then we're going to come here, build up the mods. We're going to build and reload. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn off I'm going to turn off this boss checklist here, just in case. And then let's go ahead and test it out. And there's that little play button. Now, right now, it doesn't do anything, but it's always kind of in front of the player character. So, and it's not quite the same layer as the text. As you can see, the text is kind of in front of it. So it's not quite there. But I don't know. But that's. Oh wait, actually, you guys can't see it. Hold on. Let me show the results. So, so here's that little button from the character. So, and it pretty much stays there. So apologies for anybody that was like going, what do you mean? What, I can't see what you're doing there, Jim. Kind of thing. So here's that little button that they said, hey, we're going to add it in kind of thing. So there it is. And, just to kind of show like the text is still technically in front of it. So So again, I'm not quite sure, whereabouts this is per se. Oh, everything, all things considered, but you know, or what layer this really is, you know, um, because it's in front of pretty much everything. It's in front of the chest, it's in front of the NPCs, it's in front of the doors, it's in front of the walls, kind of thing. You know, obviously, we don't have any, um, we don't have much of an idea as to whether or not it's in front of the player character at this moment in time, and because it's like right up against the player character. But um, but yeah. Um, and it's obviously following the player character around. So um, but like if I go to the crafting and we go with that, you know, it's even in front of that. It's in front of the little it's not in front of the text. So or the tooltips, but it is in front of, all of the instructions and stuff like that. So just kind of give an idea as to where it is overall. So yeah. All right. But that's basically, you know, a little bit about the user interface. So, um, so I'm going to go back to the code here, and I'm just going to go ahead and, kind of comment this particular sections out. Um, because we don't really need this particular button. So, right. So, so we don't necessarily need this particular namespace anymore. So, this was just meant to create that button. So, just to make sure that I don't have that, screwing up everything. Let me go ahead and reload the code and show that I did indeed remove that little play button. So it's gone now. So we don't necessarily need to see that play button in front of our character here in this particular regards, at least for right now. So all right, so that's gonna be it for this Terraria modding session. We're going to go ahead and close this down here. Um, so that was it for our basic UI element section. They mention a medium, but I mean, this, I mean, I'd rather a more of a document than anything else. I don't necessarily want the code for this, so that's kind of out. I don't really want that. So this isn't really. I mean, I guess it's an example, but it's not necessarily a tutorial. Um, So I think we'll be kind of more interested in if there is something here within the intermediate, but I don't really see anything here um, concerning the user interface. So I'll be really interested in this advanced custom UI guide and the advanced guides later. But tomorrow we'll go over the wall guide and then the conditions. Um, both of which, you know, like I don't know what the wall guide is all about, um, but most likely don't really need to worry about the conditions. So, um, but we'll continue on with the wall guide tomorrow for this. But that's going to be it for today's Terraria modding session. We're going to go close on down this one. Um, check out the um, check out the rest of the playlists and that I have on this channel. Give this a like and subscribe if you can. Would really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. I want to thank Kirito for stopping on by and chatting with me during this session. Appreciate it. Sorry for the Star Wars tangent, but um, obviously it's something that's near and dear to my heart personally. So, um, but you know, um, I want to thank anybody that was just kind of lurking in the background. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Hopefully you had a good time during this slight coding session that I did. And we're going to go ahead and close on down and move on to Warframe in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now.